Duping in Arc Raiders isn't just free loot. It attacks the most important thing in extraction shooters, which is the belief that the risk matters. I've been making games for 13 years, and I've had to deal with cheaters in my known projects. So I want to explain why this problem is much deeper than people think. If there's one thing that I've learned from fighting with cheaters is that you never really solve cheating and duping problems. You only move the battlefield. And in Arc Raiders, the duplication is especially dangerous due to the thing that I said earlier, that there's important feeling that the risk matters. We've all been in a place that we had a full kit of Tempest 4, Hull Cracker, the best augments, the highest shields, a lot of grenades and best heals and shield rechargers and keys and snap hooks, etc., etc. And while you have this amount of items, it's really scary to just attack everybody. Right? So how do you fight cheating? The only thing close to cheat proof is server authoritative truth. It's made like that. Everything is on a server. From your account status, your items, every action that you make goes through the server. So, for example, I have 100 coins. I want to buy something for 50 coins. I'm clicking a button that I want to buy this. And the server checks whether I can buy this. And then it does buy it for me. And my account, which is also on the server, updates, right? The game is just an interface. That's how the closest to cheat proof can be. And you can do it with backpack management outside of game and different things around the main menu. But unfortunately, in a game like Arc Raiders, you don't really have the possibility to do it in-game. Now, why? Because the solution that I previously told you is actually costly. The in-game client has to have a lot of information to be able to render the game properly. So you cannot just send to the client information about what button can he click, right? You have to have all the state on the client, basically. And the information needed to protect everything, so it's server side, would be too much to send back and forth. And that's why it's not done like that during the gameplay. As I previously mentioned, battling with cheaters and dupers, exploiters, etc., is a never-ending battle. And it's in every game there is, almost, obviously. Mostly in every shooter. What companies do is they prepare their game in a way that prevents that. But also, obviously, there are means to prepare the game cleanly, so it's not vulnerable that much to cheating and duping. But also, you incorporate some kind of tech, right? For example, Arc Raiders have easy anti-cheat system. But incorporating this kind of software is not free by any means. There is a lot of cost that you have to pay in order for these systems to work. First, it costs performance. Every game that has anti-cheat will be more performance heavy than a game that is the same game without it. Second, a lot of times it costs privacy. Players don't really like anti-cheat software due to the fact that some of the software, I'm not, saying that this or that software is breaking privacy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are some means of protection that is considerable risk of at least a debate between players. There is also a false positive cost of anti-cheat software. From my understanding, there is both false positive costs of professional software that is done by the big companies that are making anti-cheat software, but obviously as well in-house solutions for cheaters and dupers. What is false positive? It's when a system finds a match, a positive match, which says, yes, they are a cheater, they are a scammer, they are a duper or whatever. But in fact, in reality, they were not. This is a false positive. And this is the worst, right? You're, for example, I don't know, you're a very good player, right? And you have such a good aim that you almost have your crosshair 100% time on the enemy's head. And a lot of times there is no unquestionable tool that will tell you whether this person is or not a cheater. There will obviously be better tools when technology is better itself, but there are cases that somebody is falsely accused of cheating. Not to mention people say whatever they want to, right? I've been called a cheater countless times, which is funny because I'm not that good. There's also accessibility and platforms. For example, a lot of games require so deep integration with the system that the games that use this software are not possible to be played, for example, on Steam Deck, right? There's no Call of Duty, there's no Battlefield on Steam Deck. I mean, natively, like on the Steam Deck using the dedicated Steam software, right? I'm not talking about some custom solutions because I don't even know them. But you can't just, on a stock Steam Deck, go to Steam and install Battlefield 6. And last but not least, there's the development cost. As I said previously, it's not only buying the software from the company that provides an anti-cheat software. There's implementing this software into the game, and there is preparing the game so the functionalities that the software gives is not longer enough because your game is bad in a way that allows cheating and duping, and there's nothing that will help you because it happens like that as well. So why duping, especially in Arc Raiders, is a big problem? So first, trust, right? It is a very important thing for players to trust the developer, because if they don't trust that all the players are even in terms of not cheating, not duping and stuff, then how can I go on a raid and risk the loot that I've spent 4 hours grinding on if there's a possibility that I'm gonna be erased in a second without any kind of warning, right? That's the first thing, trust. Second is lack of friction and a lack of real risk for dupers to just go all in. It's not so easy unless you're top 10th of a percent to just go with your highest gear, especially if it's not the end of the season, and just casually attack everybody, right? With your Tempest or with your Renegade or whatever. And if you have unlimited items, then there's no problem because you don't care. You just take your Tempest 4 because you have 16 or 60 of them, and if you die, whatever, I'll take another one, right? And this is the worst part, because the system that is created in Arc Raiders, and in every extraction shooter for that matter, circles around farming and then spending the loot, and then farming and then spending the loot. farming and spending the loot. And if one of those things is not existent, then the loop is broken. And the third reason why duping is really bad is obviously inflation. It's not as bad as the previous two because the loot is being lost all the time. When you die to Ark, and lots of players die to Ark, mostly nobody gets your stuff, right? Especially in some kind of PvE lobbies. So it's not like in MMO that every kill is a transaction, because that would inflate the game completely and it would be game over already. Fortunately, there are sinks, but in every game which is orientated around loot and currencies and spending stuff, there are inflows and outflows of loot, of currencies, stuff. In each game, it is calculated. I'm not sure how precisely calculated it is in Ark Raiders, because it's a premium game and it's not that important, but I'm sure it is calculated. Every inflow and outflow is taken in consideration. So basically, a game designer calculates on average. It's not like they look at one specific person. No, they take segments of players and their averages, and they calculate how many items they're getting and how many they're losing, how many materials they're getting from where and how many they're losing. And it is all done to create pacing of getting more or losing in time. This is important because, for example, in Ark Raiders, this is needed for the expedition right now, because this is the end game that we have. It's not perfect. It's not even very good. I would say it's mediocre, but it is what it is. And everything is calculated towards the expedition and the projects and now the trader. But dupers break this cycle, right? If a player finds the whole bag of items on a person, which there shouldn't be there statistically, they have more than they should have statistically, and it breaks the mathematics that were used to design the game. So even that it is not as destructive as it would have been in, for example, MMO, because there is Ark and you still die and your items just disappear basically after the match, it is still really bad. But fortunately, Embark just told us that they're working on the fixes and they're working towards fighting with cheaters and dupers. And this is very good. This is really very, very good, because it means that they didn't abandon us. They're doing what they can. And please remember that this is not an easy problem to solve. Now, what can you do about it? First, don't trust any site, any account, anybody that's selling items online. And don't buy them. This game shouldn't work like that. It's really just cheating, almost, right? And if by any chance you're a moderator or an owner of a Facebook group that's related to our creators, just don't let those kind of posts and accounts, destroy our game. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this content, leave a like. Subscribe to my channel to get more insights like this. And as always, let me know in the comments, what do you think about how Embark is doing with cheaters and dupers? And tell me whether you like this video or not. And as always, stay safe, Raider.